It's going to be well rested versus good form, and we're going to see who's going to come out on top. That's the way I feel about it. It fills me with some confidence. I'm feeling quietly confident about this game. I don't know why. Could be naive, but I really think Liverpool can beat Manchester City. What is up, guys? Very welcome back to Cop Logic. The international break is over and Premier League football is back, and we're only kicking off with the biggest game of the season so far. So this is the match preview for Manchester City versus Liverpool Football Club. It's away at the Etihad. It's a top of the table clash. It's the battle for first place. What a game to kick us back off with. I kind of wish this was a little bit later, give us a couple of weeks, maybe the game before Christmas. Coming back off an international break to play the biggest game of the season away at the Etihad is kind of harsh, especially when it's a 12:30 kickoff. We know Jurgen Klopp doesn't like them.
I love playing at 12:30. That's my new.
Let's dive into it, unpack this game, see where we're going to go. In terms of team selection, I'm just going to jump straight into that. We all know who Manchester City are. We all know who Liverpool are. We all know how big this game is. I've just mentioned we're coming into this off the back of the international break. It's not ideal being away. It's not ideal being 12:30 kickoff. But Pep Guardiola has been playing his usual injury mind games. Every City player is injured, but I can guarantee they all make miraculous recoveries for this Liverpool game. Jurgen Klopp, on the other hand, he's just throwing all his players out there into the international break to enjoy international football, and boy, have we enjoyed international football. We have had some spectacular performances from some of the Liverpool boys, and I'll be going through that during the team selection. What I will say is it fills me with some confidence. I'm feeling quietly confident about this game. I don't know why. Could be naive, but I really think Liverpool can beat Manchester City. So just before we jump into it, guys, I want to say the channel's been pretty quiet for the last few weeks. We know that. It's because we've been in Japan. It's quite a simple explanation, really. We've been in Japan. We've not been able to really film anything. We did film a video while we were out there. It's a pretty special one, but it still needs editing. It will be coming to the channel fairly soon, so make sure you subscribe to that if you're not subscribed already. It's going to be worth the wait. But obviously, we're back now, and we're back in the swing of things right before that January transfer window, so we'll be keeping you guys covered all the way through that and onwards into the rest of the season. So without further ado, let's dive into this Manchester City versus Liverpool game, and we're going to go straight into team selection, as I mentioned. So as always, we're going to start with the goalkeeper there, Alisson Becker, best goalkeeper in the world. Obviously no reason not to start him. He has been playing for Brazil in the international break. Now typically Brazil usually select Ederson for some reason, couldn't tell you why, because Alisson, it's not even debatable, he is the better keeper. Ederson, however, has been injured. You know, he's one of Pep's injury mind game things. I don't know. I mean, it could have worked out for him had Alisson picked up an injury on international duty, but he didn't. And he played fairly well, except for when he came up against Luis Diaz, which is not necessarily a bad thing for Liverpool. In terms of the right back, we're going Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't really think there's another decision. There are some concerns about Trent. However, you know, if we talk about his international break, England had a pretty poor international break. Fairly embarrassing, to be honest. Could be a whole video on its own, but who really cares about England and international football? All I will say is, you know, Trent was being played by Southgate in a more advanced position. He's playing him in the midfield. That could give him the confidence in this City game to, you know, push further up when he does that inverted role and inspire some creativity there from Trent. I don't know whether it's a positive or a negative, really. The only worry is, you know, if he's more inclined to push forward there, he is coming up against Jeremy Doku with Manchester City, who is an absolute pace merchant, and we know that that's probably Trent's biggest weakness, is getting caught out by those overlapping runs from fast wingers. So little bit of a worry, I think, with Trent, but at the same time, we were never going to pick anyone else. He's still Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's still world class, and if he can bring that creativity that he's been utilising with England, and look, I know England played terribly, but Trent did get a man of the match in one of the games. It's not like Trent individually played bad. Trent was great on international duty. England just terrible as a whole. So I think that kind of inspires the next choice. Right centre back, I'm going Ibrahima Konate. He's returning from injury, and I think, you know, first game back from injury, if you were playing Manchester City away at the Etihad, I know that's not ideal, and for that reason I could see Jurgen Klopp going with Joel Matip here. For me, Ibrahima Konate, because in terms of player profile, I think he's the best suited to covering for Trent. He's got the pace and he's got the physicality needed to cover when Trent moves into those areas. You know, we've seen before, Konate is very capable of covering sort of both of those roles, being a sort of pseudo right back when he has to be, when Trent's caught out of position, and at the same time still covering his area as a right centre back. I think he's definitely the best choice. You know, he's got the physicality and he's got the pace to match those overlapping runs if Trent does get caught out. But I mean, fingers crossed, that they can just work it between them, and that doesn't happen too often because you don't want to put too much pressure on Konate. Obviously, left centre-back is going to be Virgil van Dijk. This one is an easy decision. I think Virgil is looking back to his best, to be honest with you. Last few games he's played for Liverpool, and even away on his international duty, he just looks like an absolute beast. He's definitely in the best form he's been in since he returned from that massive injury. So yeah, it's an easy choice, Virgil van Dijk, and it inspires confidence that he is in the best form we've seen him in for a good few seasons now, right before this game, because again, that's the kind of play we need in a game against Manchester City. I think it's huge that we've got a return to form Van Dijk for this game, and fingers crossed that this all works out. The downside here on this defensive line, if you were going to pick him, it'd be Andrew Robertson, right? He is still injured, so that brings us on to our left back. So we're going to have to go Kostas Tsimikas. He's been a little bit hit and miss, I think it's fair to say, in this left-back role, but it's a chance for him to inspire something in himself. This will be one of the biggest games of his Liverpool career so far because of the importance of it. I mean, we win this, we go top of the table, and then we've got a couple of favourable games on the way before Christmas. We could see ourselves top of Christmas depending on how this game goes, so I mean, it's a massive game. There's no two ways about it. You'd love to have Andrew Robertson in for this, but it's just not possible, and the only other option really for me is Joe Gomez. Though he's more suited to playing on the right side, he has got the pace, but look, Kostas Tsimikas is a left back. It's his favoured position. It makes sense to pick him despite what we might think about his performances. So fingers crossed for Kostas that he can bring his A game. All right, moving on to the midfield. I'm going to start with the right central midfield, which is obviously going to be Dominic Szoboszlai. Now, the form he's been in for Liverpool of recent time has just been impeccable. Like, this guy is the signing of the summer, not just for Liverpool, but for the Premier League, in my opinion. He's been on fire for Liverpool recently, but not just that. We're talking about the international break. 2 goals for Hungary. I mean, this guy has had a brilliant international break. It's an absolute no-brainer that he starts in this game. And do you know what? For me, this could be the difference maker in this Liverpool versus City game. This could be, you know, the X factor, if you want to call it that. Like this, he's that guy. Form he's been in from the international break, I think he's going to be right up for it, and he's not going to be the only one, but we're still struggling here with these midfield selections because this is where it gets difficult. So I'm going to go on to the central defensive midfielder. We've really only got 2 options. Thiago still out with injury, Bajcetic still out with injury. It's going to be Alexis McAllister or it's going to be Wataru Endo, and unfortunately, I just don't think either player is right for this fixture. Endo, I just don't think he's got the pace for what he's about to come up against in Manchester City. Maybe even you could say the physicality as well. I mean, can you see Wataru Endo stopping a charging run from Erling Haaland through the middle? I can't. Equally, I can't see Alexis McAllister. I mean, McAllister just doesn't tend to play that well in the 6 role, but I just don't think we've got many other options. I mean, it's baffling because it doesn't look like Liverpool are in for a CDM in January either, with the Andre move kind of falling through. But it really feels to me like we are 1 CDM away from having a title challenging team here, like seriously pushing for the title in the new year if we just brought someone in January. I'll do a separate video on that at some point in January, but it makes it really difficult to know what to select. I think it could be either one of them. I think he would be mad to pick Curtis Jones, not because I think Curtis Jones is an issue, but I don't rate him as a 6. At least Alexis McAllister's got that experience. I think I'm gonna go McAllister, honestly. I'm not happy with it, but I just don't think Endo's got the physicality or the speed to match what he could be coming up against in this Manchester City side. And as I said, I don't think McAllister is the ideal selection here either, but we have no other option. Now, what that does do is it leaves the left midfield slot empty there, because ideally we'd want Alexis McAllister, but now we can't put him there. So what does that do? Well, we know Curtis Jones has been in training, so he is back. He's a potential option. Harvey Elliott, potential option. Harvey Elliott, by the way, had an amazing international break. He got himself a couple of goals the other day. He's put in some really great performances. The one thing I'd say about Harvey is for Liverpool, when he's been coming off the bench, he's looked absolutely amazing. When he's been starting, he's been very lackluster. I also think he performs better on the right than on the left. But Szoboszlai certainly is better on the right. So am I going to play Szoboszlai on the left just to accommodate Harvey Elliott? Very doubtful. Am I going to start Harvey Elliott on the left? I think also maybe a bit of a risk. But I think any selection we make here is a bit of a risk. So I am going to go with Ryan Gravenberch. I just think he looks like he's coming into form with his recent Liverpool performances. But it does feel like a bit of a risk. I don't know. I mean, look, he's looked great. He's looked great recently when he's played for Liverpool. There's an argument for Curtis Jones. He knows what he's doing. He's played in this fixture before. I could see Jurgen Klopp going with Curtis Jones, honestly. But I'm going to go Ryan Gravenberch. I just think he's been starting to impress in recent games, and you know, he's just overcome that injury. Maybe we just throw him in at the deep end and see what he does. I don't know. This is the tough part of the selection for me, the midfield. Thankfully, moving on to the forwards, things get real easy here. Let's start with the left wing. We're obviously going Luis Diaz. He has had a great performance away internationally with Colombia. Managed to stick 2 past Alisson Becker, the best goalkeeper in the world, so you can't complain too much there. Hopefully clear-headed. He's had that massive performance away internationally. His dad was there watching in the stands. You know, I just think maybe now he's really elevated to go on and absolutely smash it against Manchester City. He looks like he's in great form. He's got that weight off his shoulders in regards to what was going on with his parents. So yeah, definitely Luis Diaz to start in this one. Bring that form back to the Etihad for us, we beg. On the right wing, I'm going Mohamed Salah. Now, again, another player that had an absolutely exceptional international performance away. You know, he got 4 goals in 1 game. He's an absolute machine. We know this. There was no doubt it was going to be Mo Salah for the Manchester City game, but what we're hoping here is that he brings that international form back with him, similarly to Luis Diaz. To be honest with you, all of our forwards have had amazing international breaks. We're bringing this form back, hopefully, to this Manchester City game. And I think that's what gets me excited more than anything, is that these guys are going to be right up for it. Their confidence is going to be high. Manchester City, a lot of their players haven't been playing because Pep's playing his little injury card game. So it's going to be well rested versus good form. And we're going to see who's going to come out on top. That's the way I feel about it. Bringing us on to our striker, there's only one choice here. It has to be Darwin Núñez. He's arguably had the best international break out of any of our players. He's the top scorer in the competition at the moment, scoring some really important goals away with his international team against some genuine threats like Brazil, like Argentina. But it is safe to say during this international break alone, he's been on fire. His confidence is going to be sky high. I can't wait to see what he can do against Manchester City. I just hope the 3 of them bring that form back, because if they do, honestly, we could be in for some goals in this one. The only caveat I'll say to this is, of course, that leaves out Diogo Jota and Cody Gakpo. There's potential there that Klopp plays him in midfield. I did forget about that. I still think it's better to utilize him off the bench in this game. You know, he also had a good international break. He got himself a goal as well recently, and I think, you know, bringing that kind of form off the bench might be key for this game. But I also wouldn't blame Klopp if he did play him in midfield. It's not like Cody Gakpo has been terrible as a midfielder. He's really good at picking that ball up in the midfield positions and driving it forwards to the forwards. So I could see Jurgen Klopp playing Gakpo in the midfield, but I think utilizing himself and Jota off the bench is going to be key in this game. The fact that we can bring players on to the field that are that good, especially as an attacking threat, is going to be a huge advantage for us. And we need every advantage we can get, because look, let's take a look at these win percentages here. We've got Manchester City on 55, a draw at 22, and Liverpool at 23. So the chances of a draw or a Liverpool win are about the same. And Manchester City, I think for the first time since we've done one of these match previews, have absolutely dominant win percentage there. Of course, that's because they're away. And also it's the 12:30 kickoff, which we know Jurgen Klopp doesn't like. My hope here is that the 12:30 kickoff does not get into their heads, because there's no reason it should do. I think we are capable of beating this Manchester City side, and I genuinely think that we can beat this Manchester City side, despite what these percentages might say. Look, the chances of a draw, I think, are very, very high. We've seen draws in the past, and, you know, these two teams will go toe-to-toe. It could be a basketball game, or one team could absolutely obliterate the other, and the mad thing about it is we just don't know which way that's going to go. Personally, I said at the start of the video, I'm feeling quietly confident about this one, especially with the boys' form off of that international break. So I am going to predict, I'm going to be positive, and I'm going to predict Liverpool 3, Manchester City 2. But look, guys, let's see what happens. Get your predictions down in the comments below, and stay tuned for the channel for everything we've got coming up through January. We're going to be right on top of that transfer window, just as we was in the summer. I think Jake's going to be doing a watch along for this game, so if you are around, then make sure you tune into the channel for that one. And as always, guys, we will see you in the next video. Slap your score predictions down there. Premier League football is back. Biggest game of the season. Let's have it.